Alright, today's reading is the Federal Railroad Administration Office of Railroad Safety, Volume 1, Signal and Train Control Compliance Programs and Policy, April 2012. And we're going to zoom in. Alright, Chapter 1, Introduction, Program Goals, On-the-Job Training Program, Signal and Traffic Control Division, Staff Directors, Headquarters Staff Specialists, Headquarters Staff, Electronic Engineers, Signal and Train Control Division of the PTC branch of supervisor specialist branch chief PTC senior S monitors and PTC regional specialists, Signal and Track Control regional supervisor specialist, Signal and Track Control regional safety inspector. Basic regulation, inspection, signal train control regulations, laws, orders, correct reference of the federal regulation, Title 49 CFR 233, signal system reporting requirements, overview, Title 49 Part 234, grade signal safety action plans overview, Title 49 CFR Part 235, instruction governing application approval of discontinuance of the material modification signal system relief from requirements of Part 236 overview, Title 49 CFR Part 236 rules standard instruction governing installation inspection, maintenance, repair, and signal and tracking control systems device applications overview. Hours of service laws, regulations governing railroad signal employees overview and personal safety. Chapter 2, inspection, investigation procedures, inventory inspection, territory, regional inspection points, inspection priorities, discipline inspection guidance, dig. Usually database data analysis, determining an appropriate focus, preparation, inspection, investigation, notice inspection, investigation, time inspection, and investigation conference points prior to inspection or investigation, following up inspection or reinspection, refusal to permit inspection or investigation. Waiver of responsibility, unusual problems of incidents, cooperation, personal, industrial, or other government agencies. Chapter 3, gaining compliance, purpose of regular inspection, conducting inspection or investigation, inferencing during and after inspection investigation, special inspections, assessment, special investigations, accidental investigations, accident investigations, complaint investigations, black signal waiver application investigations, fault proceed signal investigation, actuation failure investigation, conducting interviews, determining determining when and what enforcement action is needed and is necessary, handling the defective conditions not cited as a violation, defective conditions cited as a violation, railroad action for the correct defective conditions, written report with the remedial actions taken. Chapter 4, Field Reports, Procedures Forms, General Requirements, Signal and Train Control Inspection, Unit Account Guidelines, Complete Inspection Report Form FRA 618096, Distribution Inspection Reports, Regional Supervisor Specialist Review of the Inspection Reports, Completion of Violation Report Form, Distribution Violation Reports for Regional Supervisor Specialist Review of the Violation Reports, Block Signal Waiver Application Investigation Reports, Regional Supervisor Specialist Review, Block Signal Waiver Application Investigation Reports, false proceed signal failure investigation reports, regional supervisor specialist review false proceeding signal failure investigation reports, highway grade crossing activation failure investigation report, regional supervisor specialist review highway grade crossing activation failure investigation reports, national safety program plan status reports, other special projects reports, activity code tables. I want to go over one abbreviation, discipline inspection guidance, okay? And then we'll start with chapter 1. Alright, Chapter 1, Introduction. The portion of signal train control with the technical manual set for the method of policies perceived that it should be used with the Federal Railroad Administration, state signal and train control inspectors during the inspection investigation activities enforcement obtained the railroad compliance within the regulations, laws, orders issued by the FRA, some other activities may be designed part of their duties, directive guidance contained with the signal train control technical manual designed to maximize the effectiveness available to resource to obtain uniform application of FRA signal with the train control regulations about and throughout the nation. The uniform is mandated to the extent of the practical by the Federal Railroad Safety Act of 1970. It is necessary to effective management of the National Safety Program. The signal train control technical manual is applicable to federal, state, and signal train control inspectors, state, highway, rail, grade crossing inspectors, all signal train control Personnel should refer to the manual as often as necessary to obtain the clear understanding of that, one, of the FRA policy, procedure, and program, two, the proper application and regulation of signal train control system, three, the required personnel conduct where the enforcing of the regulations, performing inspection investigations. If there are any doubt whether at the time of the intended meeting with the proper application, any section of the manual, the inspection should be in his or her regional supervisor specialist for clarification. As federal regulation continues to revise amendment with the newly promulgated with the new FRA policies procedure program created with the existing one revived, the manual as will likewise be in need of the revision. Therefore, any of the comments and suggestions pertaining to the future revisions are encouraged. Such comments and suggestions should be forwarded to the Signal Train Control Staff Director and through the respective regional supervisor, specialist, or regional administrator or deputy regional administrator. The information from the manual is intended to provide internal guidance. It does not provide any basis for the private party with the FRA. This exercise of the movement of the discretion from the particular case. The guidance provided with the manual may be revoked, modified by the FRA without prior notice at any time. The manual supersedes the previous signal train control enforcement and/or compliance manuals. The manual is complete complement of the official railroad safety general manual or general manual. The general manual provided detailed information for the FRA's overall program operation history, statutory authority, rulemaking process, inspection, investigation procedures. Both manuals are specified in intent for the signal train control safety inspectors, technical specialists throughout the country with the monitoring compliant with federal law and safety regulations to apply railroad signal and the train control system with a highway rail grade crossing warning device. Using both disciplines, specific with the general manual with the aid of the FRA, the state inspectors is in performance of the duties of uniform application of the federal signal train control safety and laws and regulations. Program goals. The goal of the signal train control safety program is to improve the railroad safety by limiting the number of the train accidents, highway grade crossing accidents, caused with the contributed to be improperly installed with or maintained signal with the train control system. This is done by the reducing the number of the unsafe failures, limiting the associated risks related to the system. Signal train control safety program strive to reduce error. The defective conditions result with a false perceived with the signal failures, malfunctions of highway, railway, grade crossings, after warning signal non-compliant with the applicable federal requirements, and other unsafe conditions related to the signal train control system. The FRA seeks to achieve the safety program goals through the effective oversight with the level of compliance with the federal requirements related to design, installation, maintenance, inspection, testing, and repair of these systems. While the FRA recognizes that it may never be possible for the railroad to eliminate all possibilities of accidental derailments and/or collisions, the FRA does not believe that it is possible to significantly reduce the number of the railroad-related accidents due to the occurrence of the compliance with the regulations, with a few accidents actually caused by the failure of signal and train control systems. However, the record shows that each year the nation reports a dozen or false preceding signal failures, several hundred activation failures for the highway grade crossing active warning signal. One of the FRA goals is to achieve the signal reduction of the occurrence of the type of the failure. There may be thereby all reducing the risk of the railroad accidents injuries to the occurrence. On-the-Job Training Program, or OJT. The Single Train Control Field Training Orientation Guide is referred to as the OJT booklet. Is intended for the OJT new for the GSO 9, 11, 12 field inspectors, as well as state inspector equivalents for the grade level. Standards obtained within the guide are not intended to be used for the GSO 5 federal inspector for the state equivalent. However, they may be used for the GSO 7 inspector, provided with the two conditions are met. GSO 7 level trainee has completed level 2 task standards, and the FRA second, the FRA and the training has agreed with the discipline and expertise achieving the GSO 9 level. The task inventory provided by the foundation of the on-the-job training program, the consensus product for the Safety Improvement Development Division, or SIDD. The methodology used for the development of the program include the validation standard for the inspection program activity codes, as well as the policy guidelines available to the enforcement manuals, technical bulletins. The standard supersedes any previous method of the organization has been evaluated proficiency levels, and the new inspector used for the written test of other mechanisms to supplement the criteria set forth in the document not applicable unless the formal part of the OJT is listed on the OJT booklet. The standard intent would require a significant amount of practice experience has shown proven the proficiency improved with repetition. The signal train control on-the-job training program includes the following standards. Signal train control with the state highway grade crossing inspector should not be partially certified by the Title 49 CFR parts 233, 234, 235, and 236. All disciplines may be certified to perform 214 with inspections once they have completed all the related tasks, including the completion of self-study guide and tests incorporated in those standards. Analysis of the table at the end of the forward section of the OJT booklet, critically understanding the process involved with the process, shown to be taking the proper particular note of the conditions column within the place of the responsibility of the organization, provide the tools and equipment, documentation, practice necessary for the new inspector to achieve the standard. The signal train control on-the-job training is intended for the two groups of inspectors: federal, state signal train control inspectors, state highway rail grade crossing inspectors. The task is specifically formed to Part 233, 235, 236, and or signal train control inspectors only. The tasks specified with the parts 214 and 234 are both signal train controllers and state highway rail grade crossing inspectors. For quick and reference of the task to apply, the state highway grade crossing inspectors are bolded and italicized in the table of the contents of the OJT booklet. The signal training regional specialists and inspectors should become familiar with the instruction guidelines associated with the OJT program, since ensure they stand for the following regarding all new signal to track control inspectors. Signal and train control regional supervisor specialist inspectors should read the forward section of the OJT booklet and specify the section outlined with the rules and the responsibilities. Additional OJT booklets, computerized version of OJT booklets, and training verification forms can be obtained contacting signal train control train specialists. All right, Signal Train Control Division Staff Director, Headquarters Staff Specialist, Headquarters Staff Electronic Engineers. Responsibility: Signal Train Control Division Staff Director is responsible for the technical oversight of all signal train control disciplines, functions, outcomes within the nation for the highest level of possible uniform application forms of all FRA regulations and other orders returning to him of the railroad signal train control system. She is members of the staff of the Direct Office over the safety assurance and compliance as serves as the ultimate technical advisor for all signal train control matters through the nation. The FRA headquarters are staff specialists, and the headquarters staff of electronic engineers. Electronic engineers are referred to the headquarters staff members responsible for the technical oversight over the signal train control discipline functions, outcomes within the nation that are specifically assigned within the staff director. They're also responsible for providing the associated guidelines necessary to achieve the highest level of possible uniform application of all federal regulations, orders to protect the railroad signal train control system, with the headquarters staff members serve as the nationwide technical aspects advisory of the specific signal train control members as assigned by the staff director. Duties: the staff director provides the general technical review of the evaluation and analysis of the activities outcome of the all inspection, enforcement, investigation function of the respective discipline. Staff director assigned with the coordinated with the oversight of specific category among the headquarters of the staff members, the staff director, and headquarters staff members to provide guidance, direction, advance for the all personnel of the discipline in order to obtain the highest level of possible uniform application of signal train control regulations. If there is a question about the correct application of the regulation, regional supervisor specialist should contact the staff director assigned with the headquarters staff member for the guidance. Direct implementation of the national enforcement policy programs and programs specific to determining the railroad compliant with the federal railroad safety regulations, laws, standards involving standard signal control, train control discipline. The maintaining accident, signal related failure. Information evaluated the safety performance of the railroad across the country and identified with the need for the development of the recommendation of the railroad system assessment, special areas of focus within or adjustment over the enforcement and property priorities result from the state's evaluation, signal and train control discipline matters. Direct planning special investigation studies assigned throughout the nation for the more investigation staff director, headquarters staff members, and personal plan outlined the procedure followed by the many team leaders of the project. Oversight of the appropriate successful development and testing and implementation of new technology, signal train control discipline. The function is great part, including the headquarters staff involvement of the various positive train control and protect projects ongoing nationwide. Keep personnel appropriately advised involved to the extent available applicable in these projects. Provide with the guidance necessary for the development, implementation, evaluation, eventual in-service inspection techniques and practice, and advise the FRA of the senior leadership on the railroad and issue with the concern with the related signal train control discipline matters have with the railroad system, regional or national impact, make suggested recommendations regarding revisions of the agency policy procedures, specific activities including such as the National Safety Program Plan or National Inspection Plan (NIP). Representative of the FRA contact with the railroad industry of other government agency unions. The civic and private groups that all relate with all signal and train control discipline matter throughout these contexts. They are available to status that assign the activities, ensure the railroad industry with the public to have better understanding of the FRA signal train control program functions. Your Signal and Train Control Division, Positive Train Control Branch Supervisor Specialist Branch Chief. Positive Train Control Senior Test Monitors, Positive Train Control Regional Specialist. Responsibilities: the Signal Train Control Division with the Positive Train Control Branch, the Supervisor Specialist Branch Chief, the provides specialized technical support with the Staff Director. Signal Train Control Division, leadership, the direction of the other members of the Positive Train Control Branch staff. The Branch Chief, the provide technical guidance to other internal, external personnel related to the Positive Train Control implementation used across the major portion of the U.S. railroad industry. He or she is a member of the staff of the director of the serve of the primary technical advisor of the staff director, other staff of the members of all the Positive Train Control matter throughout the nation. Positive Train Control Branch senior testing members, testing monitors, and Positive Train Control regional specialists are members of staff of the Positive Train Control Branch Chief and are responsible for the direct oversight of the design and implementation of the Positive Train Control system and assigned with it occurring within the railroad industry. The Positive Train Control senior test monitors and Positive Train Control regional specialists provide advanced advice and guidance for the FRA with other agencies into the industry, signal engineering official with the manufacturer, signal equipment labor and/or labor organization on the requirements for the Railroad Safety Act of the 2008 or RSI federal rules regulation pertaining to the Positive Train Control system. The Positive Train Control Branch Chief Lead and Direct for the Positive Train Control Branch staff and analyze with the overseeing with the proper staff of the development, testing, and implementation of Positive Train Control, as well as providing the direction of the guidance of the monitoring, ongoing development, testing, and use of the system. The Positive Train Control Branch Chief plan for the development, coordinate, the implement, and direct for the Positive Train Control program, consisting of the FRA National Safety Program Plan. Other policies, plans, and of the Department of Transportation strategic plan, the FRA technical directive, the guidance for the acceptance criteria for the railway, structural engineering. He or she coordinates the directive, the review of the various industrial submitted with the Positive Train Control documentation, as well as the implementation, national enforcement policies and programs to ensure the uniform enforcement of the federal laws, regulations, standard of the Positive Train Control system. The Positive Train Control Branch serve as the chief, serve as the primary advisor for the staff directors, all aspects of the Positive Train Control development, testing program implementation, including development, revision, national policies, programs, rules, regulations, standards, procedures related to the program. The Positive Train Control Branch Chief, Senior Test Managers, and Positive Train Control Regional Specialists. The provide oversight of the design and implementation of Positive Train Control System with occurring within the railroad industry. Review the Positive Train Control System, all associated documentation submission as they are developed, and provide with the recommendation staff director of the Positive Train Control Branch Chief and the senior technical staff, associated administrator of the Railroad Safety and Chief Safety Officer, provide advice for the guidance for the FRA, other agency, with industrial safety, signal engineer, official with the manufacturer, signal equipment, the labor organization on the requirement of the federal rules and regulation for the areas expertise. Attend a various review of the planning of the meetings associated with the individual Positive Train Control program projects, mandatory labor in the field of Positive Train Control. Presently under the development and testing, as well as the future system to ensure the proper safety development, the testing, and implementation of the Positive Train Control within the U.S. The determine the railroad compliant with the federal railroad safety regulations, laws, and standards involved with the Positive Train Control matters. Provide technical advice for the railroads help to ensure the applicable federal regulations are adherence to the safety principles and applied to those these projects and programs. To provide with the FRA regional special with the Positive Train Control System application associated with the rules. Conduct evaluation of the Positive Train Control System, failure focused inspection of the Positive Train Control Systems associated with the Signal Train Control training specialists, and developing training materials related with the Positive Train Control System and training special classes as needed. The Signal Train Control Regional Specialist, Supervisor Specialist. Responsibility of the single train control with the regional supervisor specialist, regional specialist is responsible for the technical review, oversight of the signal train control inspection investigation activity with his and her region, for the uniform application enforcement of all the FAA regulations in order for the railroad signal and train control systems. The regional specialist member of the staff of the regional administrative serve as the primary advisor for the all and single train control matters within his or her region. Duty: the regional specialist report for the review the direction of the regional administrator on the matters pertaining to the signal train control system. The regional specialist serve as the staff advisor for the regional administrator. In addition, the regional specialist has the following duties: provide the technical evaluation of signal train control safety inspector for the signal train control inspectors and their work with the regional specialist for the coordinator with the assignment of the review of the special assignment involved with the signal train control inspectors, with exercising the advisement with the supervision over the disbursement of the technical workforce, approval of the work schedule with the form leave of the council employee with the adjudicate for the employee complaint with the problems with the performance, and subordinates for the identify the make of the provision, the training need for the employee, interview for the candidates, make for the recommendation, appointment, the promotion, and reassignments. provides for the guidance advice to the signal train control inspector in his or her region in order to obtain the uniform application for the enforcement of signal train control regulations. If there is no question about the correct application regulation, the regional specialist shall contact the Signal Train Control Staff Director or Signal Train Control Headquarters Staff Specialist for the guidance provided the assigning of the evaluation of the individual inspection area to maintain with the uniform effective working under the workload among the various Signal Train Control inspectors of his or her region. Review the Signal Train Control Inspector reports of the technical correspondence and reports of investigation of faults perceived with the signal failures, highway grade crossing, activation failures, application waiver, compliance violations, etc. timelines, appropriate format, as well as the technical thoroughness and correctness assured the associated report of the complete, accurate, and near expected with the standard of the error submitted with the appropriate timely manner, pertinent coordination with the investigation, pertinent preparation for the reports of the investigation of the serious rail accidents, and review for the final report, technical thoroughness and accuracy of the items pertaining to the signal train control system. Assigning the investigation railroad operation to remove the materially modified signal of the train control system with the relief of the requirement of the signal associated federal regulations. Further, regional specialists provide with a review of the completeness, technical accuracy, resolving the report provided with the forward with the regional administrator with the associated administrative railroad safety chief officer. Direct the implementation of regional enforcement policy of the program to determine the railroad complying with the federal safety regulations, laws, and standards, and protect with the railroad safety involved with the signal train control matters. Maintain accident signal failure information that evaluates the safety performance of the railroad in his or her area with the responsibility to identify the need of developing the recommendation for the system assessment and adjustment over the enforcement property for the result of the his or her safety evaluation signal train control matter. The director of the formulation plan with the special investigation studies assigned within the region. For the major investigation supervisor, specialists may personally plan outline procedure for the be filed with the reviews plan with the completed itineraries to ensure the coverage of the inspection point of the economic of the travel. Director of the investigation violation compliance regarding the railroad safety with the alleged compliance with safety rules. Provide input regulations, recommendation for the revision of the existing regulation, promulgation of the new regulations involved with the signal train control system. Provides guidance for the state with the signal train control. Highway grade crossing inspector monitors through the activities achieved in the inspection after the uniform FRA goals activities, carries out the special instructions investigation, other projects that may be assigned to him or her. Develop plans of action, resolve the unique problem involved with the signal train control system, compliance with the associated regulations, standard that might come in from his or her attention. Maintain appropriate effectiveness contained with the railroad appropriate with his or her region with the manufacturer signal equipment that keep abreast with the new installation on the railroad, the new industrial development, the design and signal train control system, administrator, the responsibility of the regional administrator, his or her absence when directed. Alright, Signal Train Control Railroad Safety Inspector Responsibility. The Signal Train Control Railroad Safety Inspector, or the Signal Train Control Inspector, is responsible for the enforcement of all of the federal rules, regulations, and order with the with the railroad signal of the train control system with the sign of the inspection area. The Signal Train Control Inspector is obliged to perform the inspection for the investigation within the guidelines established by the FRA and effectively enforce the appropriate regulations, ordered statute. The Signal Train Inspector, unusually with the application relevance for the particular regulation, is responsible for the Signal Train Control Inspector to consult with his or her regional specialist for the correct application and the assistant with the regional specialist when available to guidance for the need immediately with the signal train control inspector may consist of the staff director of the headquarters staff of the specialist assigned with the specified area with the topic of the interest in such case for the regional specialist shall be readily advisable with the result of the consultation of the FRA requirements of signal train control inspectors perform the duty of the courtesy of the professional department of the signal train inspector with the representative with the primary public contact for the agency. It is the signal train control inspector with the responsibility to see that his or her activity demeanor reflect with the credibility of the FRA success of obtaining the railroad compliant with the railroad safety program. It depends not only on the signal train controller inspector being following the knowledgeable consistent with the correctly applied with the railroad safety regulations, orders, and statutes, but also the signal train controller inspector acting in a polite, professional manner. The signal train controller inspector must never engage with the conduct, make statements that are unbecoming before their position, even in such conduct the statement is invited to provoke by the people with whom they are dealing. The signal train control inspector shall not make any derogatory remarks about any railroad employee, group of the railroad employees. Likewise, the signal train controller inspector shall not make the derogatory inventory mark with a recommendation about any manufacturer's employees, manufacturer's product, nor about any service of the railroad contractor might offer. If it's responsibility of the signal train control inspector to be aware and to conform with the rules of conduct, or to eliminate the possibility of being accused of the activity actually having the appearance of the conflict of interest. No signal train controller or inspector shall or appear to solicit, accept, agree to accept, and directly and indirectly any favor, the gift, loan, free service, or other item economically value the informant whatsoever from the railroad or railroad employee or from an outside person, corporation or group if the signal train controller or inspector reason to believe that the person, corporation, or group one has been seeking to obtain a contract or other business with a financial relationship with the state agency to conduct the operation actively regulated with the DOT has interest that may be substantially affected by the signal train controller inspector performance of the non-performance of his or her official duties, and for as attempting to reward or influence the signal train controller's inspection official's action. If it is responsibility of the signal train controller inspector to regard the conversation with the public life that did the refrain from discussing the affair of the FRA, from making the critical comments of the policy action with the competency of the official employee of the FRA, any other government, railroad, or labor organization. The signal train controller inspector shall remain aware of the railroads and private corporations to conduct their business within the prerogative of their officer. The signal train inspector should not attempt with the authority of the railroad officials to issue law order with the instruction of the railroad employees. The signal train inspector is frequently asked about the probable technical application with the FRA signal train with the controlling regulation. It's responsibility of the signal train control inspector to give the appropriate answer regarding the application of the federal regulations by making reference to the proper regulation and the appropriate document. The signal train control inspector have the reservation about the particular issue. They should refer the question to the regional specialist. From time to time, the signal train controller and inspector will be asked the federal regulation of the railroad signal train control regulations. The signal train control inspector should not attempt to furnish the answer for the federal regulations governing the other disciplines. Shall be referred to such question to the regional offices of the resolution. Further, the signal train controller inspector shall not respond with inquiries concerning the regulation not promulgated by the FRA, but in shall courteous manner with the suggestion of the manner making such inquiry for that contact the agency, the administrative having jurisdiction in such manner matters. In addition, with the issue with the address with above, the state inspector should be familiar with it and adhere to the rules of the conduct prescribed by the representative of the state. Duties. The signal train inspector shall carry out the FRA compliant with the conduct of such investigation may be assigned with him or her compliant with the established procedure. The signal train controller shall not undertake the investigation matter within the FRA purview without expressive authority of his or her supervisor. Inspect the observe the testing the railroad signal train control system, the device appliance, the similar system appliance within the rule standards instruction, RSI and I for the grade with the crossing of the signal with the safety system and the state action plan requirements at the conclusion of each of the state inspection. Signal train controller shall issue the inspection report with the form FRA 6180-96 of the railroad and representative accompanying the inspector, otherwise having jurisdiction citing the defect of the found appropriate the recommendation violation report forward with the FRA office for the chief of the council. Monitor railroad property to ensure the railroad is compliant with the applicable to the CFR Code Federal Regulation Part, including the requirements for the report, the requirement or for the provision of the filing, block signal application for the process of applying with the relief of the RSI or rail rule standard instruction with the and or with grade crossing the signal system safety action plan requirements and respectively. Conduct investigations of the railroad accident with the directive of his or her supervisors or occasion by the demand of his or her own initiative. He shall make the inspection and observe the railroad test to determine the condition of the operation of the involved signal train control system with the device for the highway grade crossing active warning system with the device for the service of the time accident with the investigation of the accident should include an evaluation of each of the following the railroad associated operated practice for the operative rule, the condition of the design of the railroad associated signal system, the stop distance with the train act involved, the appropriate spacing with the associated signal with the train speed involved, and other signal factors. Other significant factors contributing to the report accident, but the signal train controller shall submit the detailed report for his or her investigation file appropriate violation reports when warranted. Conduct investigation complaint for the alleging the non-compliance with the FRA signal regulations and over the malfunction signal train control system devices and appliance or any unsafe condition when assigned to do so by his or her supervisor. When the investigation is completed, a signal train control inspector shall submit with the written notification investigation report shall be clearly stated with whether the allegations are sustained with what an action was taken with the signal train control and inspector find with the allegation that is sustained involved non-compliant with the FRA regulation. He or she shall file with the violation report when warranted. No gender there. Conducting investigation submitted with a report with his or her recommendation for the action taken with the railroad application to discontinue the material modification signal train control system on the partition for the relief of the applicable federal requirements when assigned to do his or her supervisory. All right, conducting investigations. Reports investigation. The report is false. Proceed with the signal for the feature of the signal failure of the highway railway crossing activation failure of the other reported reports with the instruction to do so. His or her supervisor, signal train control inspector, learn for the condition appear for the person and imminent danger for the passenger for the train safety railroad employees who are taking the general public. He or she is expected to take immediate action assertion of the facts, then taken as such action appropriate to prevent the accident. Incident with the signal train control inspector will inform his or her supervisor or the regional general management of the events of his or her actions as soon as possible. Maintain an appropriately effective liaison with the railroad officer for his or her inspection area within the industry representative. Keep abreast of the new signals technologies and the new development in the railroad signal equipment. And assist with the assignment of the training of the state signal training and control inspectors when the state inspectors are employed. The basis of regulation inspection. Statutory authority. The FRA authority properly gave the effective regulation pertaining to the railroad signal system and derived the Federal Railroad Safety Statute of the Title 49 U.S. Standard Code, Chapter 201 through 213, which have incorporated the Signal Inspection Signal Inspection Act of 1937 with the Signal Inspection Act of the Federal Safety Act of 1970, the Federal Railroad Safety Act of the Signal Inspection Act and the Federal Safety Act, as amended, giving the Secretary of the Transportation virtually plenary authority over the signal train control system used for the national railroads. As discussed, the legislation with the giving the Secretary authority over the railroads to install the signal train control system by its appliances, to prohibit the railroads without an approval of the material modifying the discontinuing with the signal train controlling system at once for the installed. 3. Promulgate regulation for the installation maintenance of the regional repair signal with the train control system. 4. Order the railroads to report the failure of the signal device in such a manner that the Secretary may require. 5. Prohibit the railroads to the use of the permit to be used with any system device or applying with the now condition to be safe. And 6. To be safe used. 6. Inspect the observing and testing of the signal train control system in the use of the nation's railroad. The Signal Inspection Act sets forth the basic requirements pertaining to the railroad signal system when it was enacted in Congress in August 27, 1937. The state charged the Interstate Commerce Commission with the ICC with the responsibility to administer the provision of the Act pursuant to the Department of Transportation Act of 1966. Responsibility now rests on the Secretary of Transportation that has delegated with the FRA with the signal inspection for the provided the Secretary may, after investigation found to be in a public interest, the other order any railroad with the time specified with the order to install the block signal system and the interlocking automatic train stop train control with and/or cab signal devices, any other applying for the method system intended to promote the safety of the railroad operation, collectively referred to as signal system. The railroad operation will require to comply with the requirements prescribed in the Secretary upon the whole and/or any part of the railroad prescribed in the order for the Signal Inspection Act to provide that any of the such signal systems put in the service of installed pursuant to any other order of the Secretary may not be discontinued, material modified without consent of the Secretary. The Signal Inspection Act authorizes the Secretary promulgates the same for the instruction for the installation, inspection, maintenance, for the repair of the system, devices, appliances covered under the Act, and serve them on the railroads and make obligatory for each of the railroad. The Signal Inspection Act further provides that each of the railroads shall be required to report the Secretary in such a manner that the Secretary might determine each of the signal failure to function as intended in the case of the accident if it is caused by the failure of the signal system or result of the injury to person or property. The railroad required to make the written report for the failure circumstance of the accident. Such accidents are subject for the investigation of the Secretary. Authority to inspect under the signal Signal Inspection Act is unlawful for the railroad to use any signal system covered in the signal train control regulations unless the signal system can be operated without unnecessary peril of life and limb. The signal system must be inspected from time to time, meet the requirements for those required by the rules and standards and instructions approved by the Secretary of the FRA, and the signal train control employees play an essential role in ensuring such signal systems are properly inspected so that they are operating the safety of the Railroad Safety Act. Generally provide the authority for the Secretary to enter the inspect of the railroad equipment, the facility, the rolling stock operations, relevant factors, records. Signal Inspection Act specifies the authorized Secretary to inspect the observe the testing of the signal train control system to determine that the systems are properly conditioned to operate to provide adequate safety. The Secretary may employ with a person familiar with the signal system make the inspection. However, the such person may not have interest in the patent article, but is required to be used with the railroad signal system that cannot have the financial interest of the railroad carrier or any entity deals in the railroad supplies. Penalties in violation for the Signal Train Control Regulation. The Federal Railroad Safety Act is amended with a set penalty for the violation of the FRA regulations governing the railroad signal system. The railroad employees engaged in the signal construction maintenance work under the hours of service laws provide further authority with the safety regulation throughout the subsequent legislation. The penalty amount with the violation of FRA regulations pertaining to the signal system can range from $650 to $100,000. Signal Train Control Regulations laws in order the Interstate Commerce Commission has issued its initial rules of the pertaining to the Signal Train Control System with the September 24th, 1937. Under new rules, railroads can no longer discontinue the material of the modified signal train control system without the approval of the Interstate Commerce Commission. Each railroad was required to file with the rules stand for the instruction of such system within 6 months after the enactment of the mandatory provision. Moreover, the railroads that order the signal train control system were required to immediately report with each of the accident resulting in the failure of such system devices applying for the functions as intended. On December 1st, 1937, the Interstate Commerce Commission issued the detailed instruction for the one proceed with the submitting application approval to discontinue the material modification for the reporting of the signal failures accidents and publishing the forms beginning with the month of January 1938. In response to the failure of the most railroads submitted their own rule standards instruction of the railroad signal system with the Interstate Commerce Commission in 1939 issued the rules and standard instruction for installation, inspection, maintenance, and repair of an automatic block system with the interlocking centralized traffic control system and an automatic train stop train control system, an automatic cab signal system with the dragging equipment, slide with door detectors, other such similar to protective devices, other similar applying for the methods and systems of the RSI, other similar to protective with other similar plan for the message system. The RSI was originally promulgated with the Title 49 CFR 136 on April 1st, 1967. The RSI was retitled with the Title 49 Part 236 as the result of the creation of the FRA under the DOT. On July 17, 1947, the Interstate Commerce Commission issued an order 29543, which required the National Railroad to install the manual with the block system with the automatic block system on any of the track where freight trains were permitted to operate with 50 or more miles an hour, with the passenger train permitted to operate over 60 or more miles an hour. Order 29543 was also required the automatic cab signal system, automatic train system, operating systems, automatic train control system, which issued with any of the track with any of the train with the permitted to operate 80 miles or more. The further such system was required to comply with the RSNI identified with the Title 49 Part 136. Many efforts were made with the order of the 29543 over the year. The order remained unchanged until the February 27th, 1984, when the provisions modified and incorporated the FRA, the rules of the RSNI, now the Title 49 CFR Part 236. Presently, there are four parts of the Part 249, four parts of Title CFR, Title 49 CFR Code Federal Regulation with the pertaining exclusive of the railroad signal with the train control system. Part 236 Signal System Reporting Requirements. 234 Railroad Grade Crossing Signal Safety with the State Action Plan with the 235 Instruction Governing Applications. Approval to discontinue with the Material Modification Signal System with the relief of the requirements of the Part 236 and 236 Rules and Standards Instruction Governing the installation, inspection, maintenance, repair of the signal and train control system devices and plan of the federal, state, and signal train control inspectors. Also affect the oversight of the compliance requirements of the roadway protection, bridge worker safety, roadway maintenance machines found in Part 214, and other limitation of the requirements of the hours of service act and related to the signal control service as well as the associated record keeping and reporting requirements Part 230 and Part 228. Correct reference of the federal regulation. Many times the federal, state, personnel must reference the federal regulation verbally or in writing with the form of the import with the manner with those reference of it is made with the technical property of the following guidance is provided with the reference but can be made with the technical correct manner. Applicable regulations found in the Title 49 CFR 29 CFR Transportation Part 200 through 299 under the Chapter 2 for the Federal Railroad Administration, the Department of Transportation. CFR may be also divided in subparts for each of the rule and subpart that is titled in the section and symbol. The SS stands for section. The section may also be an individual subsection for the example of the correct references found. The Title 49 CFR Part 233, Section 5, the direct reference for the referred to the Section 233.5, subpart 233.5. Or Section 233.5. The Title 49, Part 234, Subpart D, Section 209, Subsection B1, directly referred to as Section 234, 209B1, or 234, 209B1. Title 49, CFR Part 235, Section 7, Subsection B24.5, or is directly referred to as Section 235.7, B24.5, and 235.7, B24.5. Title 49 CFR Part 236 Subpart E, Section 587, Subsection A, 4 with the directly referred to with the Section 236 587A 4 with the 236 587A4. Note that there is a space between the section symbol with the number, just like the section where it is spelled, with no spaces between the section number and the subsection. The Title 49 CFR Part 233 Signal System and Reporting Requirements Overview. Title 49 CFR Part 233 Signal System Reporting Requirements contain the reporting requirements set forth and responsibility of the railroad report for the FRA with a timely manner for the occurrence of the railroad to appliance for the device, method, and system of the function indicated required for the Part 230 could result more favorably as accessible expect for the intent of the other condition that has the movement of the train and commonly terminated falls proceed with the signal failure, especially occurrence for the main accidents incidentally caused by the signal feature of the required of the railroad to report once every 5 years the current information surrounding the methods of the operation block signal system of the interlocking traffic control system, the automatic train stop, train control, cab signal system, and other similar applying for the method and system of the Part 233 requires the railroad to report any failure with the signal system or its component of the function that indicate with the intent of the F-15 day for the current requirement of the railroad to report with the 24 hours by telephone accident incident, then discover the failure signal system of the signal system the function for the intent of the toll-free telephone number that is maintained by the FRA such for the reporting. The FRA signal system of the reporting the initial become of the due no later than April 1st, 1997. Once every 5 years after the report should you with the FRA comply with the statistics of how the nation's railroads are being operated. The technical application of Part 233 regulation is referred to as further defined in Volume 2 by the FRA Signal and Train Control Technical Manual titled the Signal Train Control Regulation Technical Application of the Defect Code of the Manual. The section addressing the Part 233 provides for the authority with the guidance regarding the correct application of the federal requirements as well listing of the appropriate defined defective codes regarding the report requirements of Part 233. Part 234 Title 49 CFR Part 234 for the Grade Crossing Signal System Safety of the State Action Plan for the Overview. The Title 49 CFR Part 234 for the Grade Crossing Signal Safety State Action Plan contains the reporting requirements set forth the responsibility of the regard railroads regarding the installation, maintenance, inspection, testing, and repairing of the highway grade crossing active warning systems devices for the appliances, as well as the record keeping the activation failure with the accidents caused by the activation failure, reporting the requirements of the technical application for the Part 234 regulation further defined in Volume 2 of the FRA Signal for the Train Control Technical Manual of the title of the Signal Train Control Regulation Technical Technical application of the defective code of the chapter addressed with the Part 234 provided the authority for the guidance regarding the correct application of the federal requirements, as well as listing the appropriate defined defect code regarding the inspection determination compliance related to the highway rail grade crossing, the active warning system provided and appliances. The rules may contain within Part 234 you with an instruction, inspected with inspection of the investigation activity of the minimum standard for the highway grade crossing, the warning system that are evaluated for complying with the presumed with the more note that many of the railroads have adopted their own standard with the more with the stringent than those set forth in 234. However, the FRA, the state inspector, can enforce only the minimum standards set forth in Title 49 CFR Part 234. Alright, Title 49 CFR Part 235, the instruction governing the application for the approval to discontinue with or material modification for the signal system and relief of the requirements of Part 236 of the overview. The Title 49 Part 235, the instruction governing the application for the approval to discontinuance or material modification signal system and relief of the requirements of Part 236 of the prescribed the procedure that used by the railroad to obtain the FRA with the approval and discontinue for the material modification of the signal training control system, similar predictive system, the device, and as noted above, the instruction that was originally issued by the Interstate Commerce Commission in 1937 that has been amended many times to help ensure the discontinuity modification regulatory relief issue with the clearly defined with the railroad may examine those rules to determine the circumstances under which the application must be filed. Part 235 to provide the format such application detailed information the railroad must provide with the application. Part 235 further sets forth the procedure and details regarding the manner within the application to be filled in order to regain with the relief of the provision in Part 236 of the railroad safety and RS&I with such application for the active of the FRA with relief of the either granted, denied, missed or denied matter of both a block signal application and application regulatory relief of the FRA to make one of the following actions. Approve the application with the conditions, approve the application part, and deny the application in part. The dismiss of the application either not being necessary or not being filled in accordance with the requirements. Deny approval of the application ensures for the safety of the railroad may entertain with the FRA with the reconsideration agency may consider the application for the condition of the information warrant such action. Further, the FRA may hold the public hearings to permit the railroad to make sure and make it in case to permit the interested part of the general public to present the arguments arguments for the information that they might have the bearing on. In the case of no such for the hearings of the public of the Federal Register, such hearings are normally held near the applicant, but to hear the permit the easier access by those most interested in the disposition application. The technical application part 235 regulation further defined in volume 2 of the FRA signal and train control technical manual of the chapter addressing the part 235 provides authority of the guidance regarding the corrective application for the federal requirements as well as listed in making the listing as appropriate. Defines effective codes regarding the failing of the block signal application for the request for the relief of the requirements of part 236. Part 236, Title 49, see Part 236, Rules, Standards, and Instruction governing the installation, inspection, maintenance, the prepare of the signal of the train control system, devices, the application overview, the Title 49, CFR Part 236, Rules, Standards, Instruction governing the installation, inspection, maintenance, the repair, signal, train control system, devices, and appliance, referred to as the Rules, Standards, Instructions, the government of the installation, maintenance, inspection, testing, signal, train control system of the nation's railroad, the Rules, Standards, Instructions, have been modified many times. The adoption in 1939 made the major revisions were made in the Rules, Standard Instruction January 26, 1984, which became effective December 27, 1984. Additional major revisions were made with March 7, 2005, become effective June 6, 2005, within Part 236 of the Subpart H of the processor base. The rule commonly known as the Positive Train Control Rule became a final rule. The most recent of the major revisions were made on January 25, 2010, becoming effective March 16, 2010, with the Subpart I mandating the Positive Train Control subsequent of the Railroad Safety Improvement Act of become the final rule. Part 236 of the known that contained with the provision of the original Order 29543 as well with the regulation pertaining to the installation, maintenance, inspection, testing, and repair with the signal train control system, protective devices from other similar devices, system method of the railroad rule safety as rules. Safety and instruction, technical rules, standards, and instructions are over the technical regulation governing with the way signal train control system are designed, installed, and tested and maintained. Technical application for the Part 236 is further defined in Volume 2, FRA signal for the train control technical manual for the chapter addressing the Part 236 to provide the authority for the guidance regarding the corrective application of the federal requirements that are listed, appropriately defined defect for the code regarding the installation, maintenance, inspection, testing, and repair of the signal train control system devices and appliances. The rules contained in the Part 236 are used for the inspection and their inspection for the investigation activity are minimum standards by which the railroad signal the train control system are evaluated for compliance, particularly the note that many of the railroads have adopted their own standard that are more of the stringent to those of the Part 236. However, the FRA and the state single train control inspectors can enforce only the minimum standards set forth in Title 49, Part 236. Hours and service laws governing the railroad signal employees overview. The Hours Service Act for the Act was enforced in an act of 1907 intended to promote the safety of the employee with the travelers upon the railroad, limiting the hours of service of certain railroad employees. Original act was properly known as the 16-hour law, covered only with a certain operating employee, with the employees engaged with the transmittal, receive the train orders. Act that has been amended several times. The major changes being made in 1969, 1976, and 2008. First enacted in the law of 1976, the limitation of the 1-hour signal employees were clarified with the 1978 amendments. Federal Merit Administration signal track control assigned with to perform the hours of service inspection and investigation should consult with the Federal Technical Bulletin G0002 for the Federal Hours of Service Law for the signal service of the guidance for the technical bulletin along with which may be attained with either the Federal Railroad Safety Train Control Division for the Operating Practices Division headquarters provided with the necessary for the inspection investigation related to railroad signal employees hours of service of the technical bulletin if the process of being updated with the FRA with the final decision regarding the correct interpretation of the most of the recent modification of the bulletin law of the record, keeping the requirements of reporting requirements of other complete with the manual of the revised according with the reissued technical bulletin. Technical application of the hours service requirements further defined in Volume 2 of the FRA signal of the train control technical manual with the chapter addressing the hours of fuel, the rules signal with the rules of the signal service along with the record, keep the reported requirements of Part 228, provide the authority for the guidance of the record regarding the correct application of the federal requirements regarding the limitations associated record, keeping the requirements, reporting requirements for the hours service related with the signal employee with the personal safety. The inspector shall be making the conscious, effective, conscious effort to maintain the personal safety and the safety of those with whom they're working. The inspector should make watch for the voice cautionary warning if there is if see any of the condition that may imperil any person with a compromising inspection of the group with any other movement, train movement. The inspector should especially alert and attentive when riding on the rail for the high rail vehicle. The safety of every one of the vehicle makes it imperative that each of the persons should understand the rules and authority of the limitations of they are each person must also be aware of the subsequent action vehicle movements must comply with those rules and authority, particularly way with the inspection of the and or investigation being performed around the multiple track main lines in third rail electrified territory. The inspector shall strive everywhere if possible to comply with the provision of the roadway worker protection regarding the regulations found in Title 49 CFR Part 214. Failure to comply with the regulations sent with the wrong message. Road employees who may observe the action. Inspectors, they often safety of the inspectors have their own safety equipment that they should use. The railroad provides other additional safety equipment that requested that it be used. The inspector should comply with the railroad's requests. Chapter 2: Inspection and Investigation Procedures.